Encoding is being picked up. Checking the stream. And we are live and on the air on YouTube and Twitch. Welcome everyone to the Foolish Tech Show. It is a lovely Tuesday morning, and we're here mainly to provide you with support and answer any questions about our products and services. If you do have any of those, feel free to jump over to foolishtechshow.com. We have a couple ways you can join our IRC chat from there. We'll be more than happy to interact with you directly and interrupt whatever we may be talking about at the time to focus on that instead. Otherwise, we will fill the air with random shop talk, and if you'd like to participate in that, we highly appreciate that as well. So feel free to jump on over to the same foolishtechshow.com, and just keep in mind that any opinions expressed here are of the individual that expressed them and not the entire company. So how's everyone's Tuesday going so far?
Well enough.
Doing
Thank
well.
you for asking. Hope it is for you too.
The weather is going up and down a lot, so it's like my sinuses always. That's how I know that the weather is majorly changing. Honestly, not from all the reports or the data or any of that stuff. It's the fact that I used to get sick twice a year when the seasons change from winter to spring and summer to fall. And now I end up getting sick like 3 or 4 times a year because the seasons change from those 2 time periods like multiple times throughout the months that they're supposed to do it. So, yeah, I always have like a stuffier nose, or I guess it could just be getting older too. I always try to leave out that fact, but
I've kind of experienced the same thing, Brantley. I normally have 2 events like that a year, but this year I haven't had a full-blown sinus deal yet. I think it may be due. Yeah, it might be due to the weather.
Yeah, but I mean, it really hasn't seemed like winter at all. Like when they were like, "Oh, it's Groundhog's Day already, and he's going to determine if winter's over." I'm like, winter hadn't even started. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Where was the winter? Did I hibernate or something this year? Because I don't remember winter coming.
We did have that one good snow and it was cold for about a week.
Yeah,
we had a good week and a half of winter altogether.
Do what, Tank?
I said we've had a good week and a half, 2 weeks of winter altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is definitely where we're located too is a big difference. Like I know that the west and northwest areas and northern areas definitely have had winter full blown. But it just doesn't seem like it's reached down to here, I guess, for some reason. Oh, geez, are we turning into Florida? Let's hope not. Well, to start off the day, I had been trying to post this link for quite some time. Here, let me refresh so I can actually see what the date was. Since almost 5 days ago, I found this link. Last Friday the 3rd, I found this link. And I just kept forgetting to post it, but it is probably one of the greatest things of Legos I've seen yet. Build your own self-lacing shoes like Nike has with frickin' Legos, man. Like, it may look uncomfortable with that huge chunk thing on the back there. I'm assuming it's probably battery power. But that's frickin' awesome. That is way cooler than spending $700 on Nike's self-lacing shoes. Apparently
bump up against something, you're going to destroy your self-lacer.
720. Yeah, you gotta be certain you're not the type to
walk on eggshells,
to stub your toe there. But I'm sure you could make. I mean, if you have a 3D printer, you could definitely easily print a 3D casing around that.
Look, what about? I mean, isn't Velcro still an option for if you don't like to lace shoes? I mean,
I mean, you're right, Michael. You could easily adapt that for Velcro, so it would be self-Velcroing shoes.
No, my point is you wouldn't need it at all.
Why wouldn't you need it at all? Because you would have to still Velcro it yourself. I mean, you don't even need laces. They got laces that tie themselves now too, like stretchy laces. You know, like I haven't even tied my shoes in quite some time because I got a zipper on the back of my shoes.
Wild. Okay. All right.
Yeah, like this takes you out of the equation. All you have to do is put your foot in.
Think of how much more time I will have in my life.
Exactly. That time adds up, man. It adds up right fast. And Michael sent me a link this morning as well that was pretty awesome. I have to give it to him. Apparently, Google is working on the enhance program.
For image, to improve the detail of images. What I thought was to go good. They did a really good, explanation of what's going on here. They basically take an 8x8 image and they provide a whole lot more detail from those 64 pixels that they sample. Now, they'd use two AIs, two big neural networks to accomplish this, and a lot of it is done through comparison with, well, the first part of it is done with comparison against real photos to find maybe an expectation of maybe what should be going on in those pictures. So they take actual photos, they do the same, they make them 8x8, and they kind of see where they would scale in the other direction, and so that gives them the information they need to scale it. And then they also, the second part of it is just adding additional detail through more traditional techniques. Now, the predictive stuff is kind of interesting because it is, it could potentially expose a match to something real. I suppose a little bit more credibility with that, but the other stuff is still just completely fabricating additional data to kind of fill in the blank spots. Now, I believe this will be great for potentially identifying people, but I believe it has a great potential for creating a match against someone that may not be based in reality. It's not a picture of someone still. We have to realize that. And I know that they show the quote unquote original and they show what it was able to come up with, and that those look very, very close. Despite that, that's only because that image existed in their database, and when it starts to have less of that match in the first part of the neural net search and more of more matching through the second part of the search, if it fills in more blanks, let's say, if the picture is particularly bad, then you gotta be careful that you don't necessarily incriminate someone that or identify someone that is incorrectly. So.
Going right for the incrimination stuff.
Well, because that's how they're going to use this stuff. You realize that it's not just no.
Well,
I mean,
no, and Nubby Foolisher, welcome. Actually, that's an awesome name. Points out a good point there that, and this is I was going to bring up along the same lines, is that you got to be concerned about who's on the other end of that predictive side, because they can predict things to be their own route easily. And I mean, it's obviously very much still in its infancy. You can even see with having some of the base photos already in their systems, they didn't get it quite right a lot of the times there. So I think that we'll have to see where it goes, and then hopefully they will make it more open source and provide the ability for others to be able to have the control and power, not just rely on.
Well, it's no open source, and this would be worthless because you'd have to have access to Google's data in order to make in order for this to work. I mean, it's
Or you
it's
could
big
just
data
have
mining,
access to
AI
your
data mining.
own data.
Yeah. I know, but
mean,
I don't
with
think you
how
could.
much surveillance footage and stuff places keep nowadays, they could easily just have all that pixelate or all of that picture framed by frame and available for searching.
But
That would give them the data that they're actually looking for. Google probably doesn't even have that data of the stuff that they're actually looking
it doesn't need to. All they need is pictures. So it has nothing to
Michael, I mean, if you're in a laboratory where you're making things that aren't out there with pictures of it, Google has no way to figure out what those things are. That's why I'm saying in that situation, it would be better if they were able to use it on their own internal data because they have pictures of what things are supposed to be and the employees that are there. And I would think it would make the comparison and search much faster, not just using a whole bunch of random things. And
I
more.
know, but you realize that's like you're kind of defeating the whole purpose. In that case, you already know what it's supposed to be, and you're providing pictures that match what it's supposed to be. But in reality, how this is going to be used is to identify something that they don't know what it is initially. And so you wouldn't know that it's that new thing that were created in that laboratory. And so you need to go based upon a wide selection of generally available images to be able to compare it against, particularly faces, that are somewhat unique structures.
You don't have to.
So larger the data set, the is where the quote intelligence comes from with this stuff. And with a smaller data set, I don't think you'd be really good at identifying that one thing, but that's all that it would be good for. And that means you
Well,
probably
I mean, if someone knocks out all the security cameras except for one that they can't reach that's really high up and they know that it ends up with a pixelated photo of them, then you'd be able to use that against your data set, knowing the people that are there and pick out the person that was.
Yeah, except they already have ways to do smaller sorts of comparisons like that. This is again, if you take a random picture and want to compare it, and you don't know what it's going to be of. You don't know if it's going to be an employee. You don't know if it's going to be a tree or a car or a cat or a dog or a mouse. I mean, I guess in this case, narrowing it down to pictures, but that still leaves the 7 billion people on this planet. There's a large variety in that, obviously. Anyway,
I mean, like in that first line of sampling there, that's an entirely different person than the ground truth. The 32 by 32 samples.
Mm-hmm.
That sample there is an entirely different person than what the ground truth is. Completely inaccurate. The second one's a little bit closer, but it looks like the second or third cousin of ingrained marriages from that person. And then the bottom one just looks like, I mean, like it's like a generic face of the ground image. And again, I know this stuff's in infancy, but like you're talking about identifying people or things, like it's making up quite a bit there. I do like that their little graph thing on the slideshow third picture just says image, stuff, more stuff, logits. Actual image.
It is a little silly. I admit that that picture, but those bars that are in that picture each represent the different network that they're the neural network that they're going, and those basically correspond to the ones that I was referring to earlier. The pixel CNN, I think, is what adds the artificial data. The conditioning is what compares it against real world pictures. Yeah, they do need to elaborate on their logits part of it, because like I said, if they focus more on that top neural network for the information, I believe that's where you have a case of some of those less than, like you were talking about, pictures that show yeah, that you're not sure the gender nor the the certainly any yeah, you really can't make out much of anything.
You'd be like, Though it just end up being a new filter on Instagram for some people.
Well, or a Snapchat type
Yeah.
weirdness. Yeah,
But
I heard.
it is really cool technology, and I'm glad you pointed it out. So I'm not bad.
Well, we're always so quick to say that can't be done, and yeah, you can't add information that isn't there, and this isn't doing that. It's not adding information that isn't there. It's guessing. It's guessing based upon comparison to real images, and it's guessing based upon, if you have 2 brown pixels, likely there's going to be another brown one in between. But could it be useful in certain circumstances? Yes. Just be careful how you use it, because that's not real data. It's not a real image of somebody. And as much as you might want to believe that, in the case of, let's say, a twin situation, I don't think this could be used to distinguish between the two. So.
Yeah. Well, definitely not now, but again, I am excited that they're making something towards that effect, where I have several pictures that if I zoom in, it gets pixelated and it's not worth it.
For personal use and for there are ways to not get into the tanglements that I'm talking about, as far as like having law enforcement broadly use this for mass surveillance. There's more specific uses, like you were just talking about, in your own personal photos. That would be interesting to see if it's I'd like to see the implications that are less infringing on rights, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm talking about like back. I have pictures dating back to when it was awesome to have a 4-megapixel digital camera. So,
what are they up to now these days?
Like this big.
What are we up to now these days? 20.
I think they were called
20 megapixel. How big are those cameras?
Well, actual regular cameras usually average around the 20 to 30 megapixel, but they got ones that go up to like 200 megapixel, I think.
Yeah, I haven't really kept up with a lot of that progress that they've made in those areas, but
yeah, they offer ones that have a 200 megapixel image. As of 2014, the Hasselblad H5D 200C, it offers a 50 megapixel sensor, but with the multi-shot function is used, the resolution of images is 200 megapixels. So that was almost 3 years ago. It could be much better or not.
I have a story here of a 570 megapixel one from several years ago, as well, used for space imaging, I think. Yeah, well, they're up there. I'm sure it's probably gigapixel by now. But more pixels isn't always better.
Hold on. Nuvi Foolisher has a question. When they purchased the DMZ videos after the grand sale, they got a different username and password. Is that expected? It is when you go through that purchase process. But if you'd like us to make it the same, we can do that. Just send us an email at support@foolishit.com from the account that originally purchased. Hopefully both of them use the same account email, hopefully for both of those. And we can set it up so that it's using the same username and password. Just let us know in an email at support@foolishit.com. We'll be more than happy to set it up on the same account. But it really doesn't matter. The dcloud passwords are completely separated system from the website one, so it's up to you what you'd prefer to have. Cool. Yeah, we'll get on that, and we can set them up so that they're the same. Not a problem. And again, that's what we're here for. Don't feel like you're interrupting anything, because you're definitely not. We were talking about the highest megapixel camera, so much more important question there.
Speaking of megapixels, this is from, obviously, more than a year and a half ago. Yeah, obviously, I don't, that wasn't taken from one. That was a panorama, I believe, stitched together. But that's That's a large picture. And again, that's gigapixels, not megapixels.
Hey, if you had to pick any of the 50 states to go on a short-term visit, where do you think the cheapest one would be?
That would depend on where you started from, obviously.
No, the cheapest, like once you got there, how much it would be to.
Oh, like the cost of okay. Well, someplace with low taxes.
I mean, it's 50 states. You could just pick out one. You don't have to overthink it too much.
In the middle of nowhere. I'd say somewhere in like the Midwest. I don't know. Idaho. What's in Idaho? Potatoes.
Yeah, Idaho is really pretty though, actually. And that's not the Midwest, really. It's kind of, but it's not. That's in the West.
Okay. Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota. I don't travel. You should be the one answering this question.
I can't see what.
And we're so focused on the continental U.S. I mean, where's Farley and Beavis? Are they both here? Yeah, I guess they are.
Yeah. So this Lifehacker article explores the most and least expensive states for short-term vacation rentals, and it does look like the ones you mentioned. You didn't mention Oklahoma or Kansas, but those are actually the cheapest. It looks like at $70.
My brother lives in Kansas. I didn't want to say Kansas because he lives in a more expensive part, but
I was gonna say that's definitely not staying around Kansas City area.
yeah.
The entire rest of the state, probably, but not the Kansas City area.
And those states are rather large considering the urban population centers within them. So
yeah. And I assume probably not around Oklahoma City and Oklahoma. But North Dakota looks like it comes in next.
Illinois. Yeah, wow, Illinois.
Yeah, I would have thought that would have been more expensive. But like Idaho, what you were talking about is like 110.
Yeah, wow.
But now I'm wondering too if that's based off, because I mean Idaho is essentially like Kansas just flipped on its side, because there's only Des Moines and the other place in Idaho, or it's not Des Moines, it's something else. But anyway, there's only like 2 cities in Idaho that are really major cities, and then the rest of the state is like mountains and national park and stuff. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, like Vermont. Look at the cost there in Vermont. It's pretty high. Like I remember their taxes were insane up there, but you know, like everything was like beautiful. They were obviously spending the money on public works projects and things like that. So I guess it depends.
Well, I mean, it looks like Rhode Island is the highest. I guess that's because there's not a lot of state to be there. They can't attract too many visitors at one time.
They probably have to import everything from outside their state because they just don't have enough to produce.
I just thought that was interesting, and yeah, I do enjoy traveling, so pretty cool to see.
It's just crazy that like there's states in there that have very similar prices that I just don't just seem grossly different, you know, and otherwise, you know what I mean?
Well, that's why I'm wondering if maybe the data set's a little bit skewed there, because
And it's hard.
Idaho is very pretty, but I don't know if it's like where they're basing their data off of. If it's major hubs, like I've been to
It's
Kansas
hard
City.
to believe.
I
Like
don't want to stay in Kansas City, so
Hawaii and Alaska, you know, you would think those should be some of the most expensive, given that the cost of actually getting goods in and out of those places. And if you look at it, they're not the most expensive. You know, New York and Maine and Massachusetts are all, and New Hampshire, you know, and Delaware, I mean, they're all way more expensive than those. And so there's a lot of different things going on. There's gotta be, because
Yeah. I haven't actually been to the full northeast side yet, so I can't say if it would be worth it going up there or not, but I would have to doubt it. I've seen some pretty great places all across the rest of the country, so can't see that those places would be that much better or that much different from Michael, you've been to New York State and those other places, it seems. So is
some
it
of them.
that much different? Like,
Well, it's okay. So not necessarily in New York State so much, but in some of those other ones, again, they're like very high tax rates. There tend to be much smaller populations and areas, but it's
I
like
mean,
very
for
well.
going there, not like government logistics.
Okay, well, they're beautiful in the sense that, like I said, public spaces are well maintained in those areas. The scenery was in the mountainous regions is I'd imagine just is what you would expect, you know, from your western Rocky Mountain visits, although not quite as broad. Obviously, it's in a smaller
Yeah.
area overall, but you have
and
very tall
they're, like,
mountains
half
that.
the height.
Well, there's still quite some tall ones. There's still some tall ones up there. And you know, and upstate New York is beautiful too. I mean, it's more, you know, there's a
I
lot
mean,
of
but is there
farmland.
like would you know starkly that you're in New Hampshire, Maine, or Vermont versus northern New York, upstate New York? Like, would you be able to just look around
There's
and be like, oh yeah, this is definitely Maine, or this is definitely
well,
New
the
Hampshire?
the mountains would give it away possibly. That wouldn't be quite as
Yeah,
visible.
I was gonna say I didn't see many mountains in New York. There were some hills, but
But yeah, but other than that, it might not be too different. There's going to be some accents differences in some of those places. You know, like, you know, the New Jersey gas thing where you don't get to fill your gas in New Jersey. Um, uh, I don't know. I can't. There's not a specific difference, but every state has its own feel. I mean, you gotta know that to some
yeah.
extent. I mean, there are some that might be similar, you know, certainly, but there's always usually a little bit of flair that's very specific.
Yeah, you know the instant that you roll through North Carolina because your car starts to bounce from the horrible roads.
However, I was about to say the exact opposite. Is I know when we get into South Carolina because they stopped maintaining the sides of the highways and interstates.
Oh, really?
Like
Yeah.
North Carolina, they are always mowing that to like down to a quarter of an inch. South Carolina, they wait until it like gets 2 feet tall before they decide to mow it. So
Now I think Texas roads were way worse than North Carolina. We entered Texas and the road was just a freaking disaster.
yeah. And then all the traffic they have from, or all the construction they had there, it didn't make a lot of sense how bad they were maintained, but they had so much construction going on.
Yeah.
This isn't working out somehow. This has got to be a conspiracy. I think the construction was to make the roads worse. They've managed to smooth out this road with all their travel. We got to get in there and rough that up.
Yeah. Need better traction.
If it's not a secret, which state has the most users of D7.2? We actually have no idea. We don't track those kind of statistics. We definitely are not reporting your location to us every time you use D7.2. The most we track is validating product keys and activation. We don't really track
and
data or any of your other.
We can tell when you've used the product within 7 days. We don't know anything about the usage or where or anything, just the name.
And we do have a large number of customers who work probably on borderline areas between states that service probably both sides of borders and various things. You
I
know,
have considered some sort of a telemetry add-on.
and it's not uncommon at all for decks these days, particularly to travel and sometimes large distances to do support. So
And it would be interesting to see those kind of statistics, but we've long not been fans of intrusive apps of that nature that take your files and your data and your personal history and things like that. So, because you can gain a lot about a person from just metadata if you haven't heard.
Oh, yeah.
So there might be additions to that in the future, but yeah, we definitely don't appreciate that or have that capability currently because we're not fans of it. There are some other text softwares out there that do track how and when you use your stuff, so just keep that in mind. If you're not a fan of, like Windows was getting a lot of flack for their telemetry data. Keep that in mind that there's other companies out there that are currently seeing when you open, use it, what you do inside of it, and how you use it, and possibly what you're using it on even, and how you're using it for, things like that. So we don't know exactly what they all do, but we do know that some of them do. Thanks for the good questions there, Nubby. We enjoy this. If you mind if I call you Nubby, Foolish, or should I call you?
Nubby, I think it's newbie, by the way. He's trying to say, but it's hard to. I don't know.
It could be newbie too. Newbie does make more sense there.
But I mean, there's various
Now that you
spellings.
mention it.
Sorry, I've been mispronouncing it wrong the whole time.
I don't know what the spelling's supposed to be, but it doesn't really matter. It's we know.
Well, if you have kids,
Yeah, Michael's right. It's Newbie.
oh, okay.
That's cool. I kind of like Nubby more though. I mean, you might want to consider that. Anyway, we're big fans of insulation and DIY stuff here too, and I came across this other life hacker article that finally gives me a reason to purchase one of those huge bubble wrap rolls. Every time I go in Walmart, I see those, and I always pop just a couple of them. So if you ever go to the Walmart I've been to, you're buying less bubble wrap than you should be getting. But I've always wanted a reason to buy those, and every time I convince myself I have no reason to use that much bubble wrap. But this might give me a reason and chance, and then I'll have some left over, and then I can pop it and stuff. But
You know, I just happen to get involved in something else right now. But two things. I had another comment on the telemetry thing a minute ago, and the B7 to newbie, and then I wanted to announce the blog post. I was going to do the blog post, Brantley, you know, that you read. I was typing yesterday, and then I got sidetracked on some stuff.
yeah.
Well, I'm still typing that. And it's funny because I know you said like you read it and it was like big and good and like did you think it was like informative or whatever?
Very. I mean, your posts are
Okay.
always.
Because I kind of left out the like half of it. So I was just adding that in, you know, later yesterday. But I was going to do the blog post, and there's a nice tutorial. I haven't posted. I'm just like I can hit post, but I think I've got a paragraph in there or something that I need to look at or take out or something, and I just haven't read that far yet. But so it'll be a little bit after the show today. But the blog post will talk about last Friday's update to MSyssoft's A2CMD custom app profiles, which are designed to, and I guess we announced this before on the show, and just to say again, they're designed to the updates they replace, you know, what's in your auto mode profiles, and it's designed to, you don't have to actually know about what just happened there. But being a D72 newbie, with the blog post that I'm posting and with this update that I did, I actually happened to go through and do a lot of funky stuff with the custom apps and configuration in D72 did some batch file tricks, show you how to find some locations in the registry that, and get like retrieve the values from D72 data that it puts there about where it is and what it's doing. Batch files that can run in conjunction with the custom app. Got all of that commented well. The blog post in the batch file itself, which you'll have in D72 right now, in fact, if you've updated the default apps since Friday evening late. And the blog post will tell you how to find that, and then go from there. But it's also massive because it tells you a lot about the configuration of D72 and how it works. And so I really had to think about, it's actually kind of neat because as long as I'm talking about it, I really had to think about how to get this custom app to work. And it could have been done in several ways, but to do it in just one custom app configuration without any code modification to D72 itself presented a challenge. So I had to do some interesting things, and it really made me break down the process. Like, I'm actually the weirdest thing I'm doing is running the batch file as the custom app. So it actually runs, but it also runs before the custom app. But it has to create the directory, and the directory can't exist, and it can't be the directory it's going to end up in. It's got to be the directory where the installer is. And what you end up finding out is if you've got to download, the way D72 works is it's going to download and it's going to expect the directory to be there after the install, but it's not going to be. Well, because you're not doing the installer from there because of some other complexity. So like there's like this step by step, like this is the fail point and this is how you work around it. And so it's just, I guess, teaching people how to do better, custom apps for themselves. And also tell you if you've done any of the MSysOft modifications to the default apps and they don't work, I guess that's like the other, like, hey, announcement. Then the new default apps, you can copy those, and the blog post will tell you how to do that right at the start. You can copy those and then just add your modified command line parameters or, whatever to the copied profiles. Tell you all about why you shouldn't just copy the files and you should do it through D7's config. It's very informative. So D72 newbie, check that out. I'll post it in the IRC later if you're still there, and if you're not, well, just
I posted the link to the blog for our site, so you can just hit refresh on that throughout the day, and you'll see it pop up there when it gets posted as well.
Actually, at the end of the blog post, because I always got to do this. This one is, that one won't work. Sure.
Farley's very interested in that as well, Nick.
Awesome.
And gives his thanks.
There you go. And you can add /feed for the RSS, which will take you straight to the. I don't care about the other stuff.
Okay. And also, newbie, if you have any questions about setup or usage or anything, feel free to just shout those out, and we'll deviate from whatever we may be talking about to focus on that.
Yeah, sometimes I just kind of snap into it, and then I don't know, randomly. I guess when we have something to talk about. Yeah.
So yeah, if you have questions or things, feel free to ask and bring it up. So we will have stuff to talk about there. Michael, if you could hold off on just posting random links until you're able to talk about them, that would be appreciated.
That wouldn't hurt. Yeah, you don't have to go back.
But yeah, if either of y'all, Farley or newbie, have questions about D72 or how to use it or suggestions or anything, feel free to just shout them out. That's exactly what we're here for. We're just filling the air, talking regular shop talk and otherwise. So we very much appreciate that stuff, even more than what we have available to talk about. Probably lots more than what we have available to talk about. There are quite a lot of differences. Newbie asked, what's the difference between white label and bulk resell of Crypto Prevent? So bulk resell is just the straight Crypto Prevent Same one that you would download and be able to use as the free or premium version, but it gives you pre-configured settings on install ability and also gives you a set amount of licenses that you can work with and resell to customers or businesses, or in your own company, use them on all your systems there. Is what it was designed for, but you don't have many customizations past that. Plus, we offer the support of the actual product and stuff directly to the person. If they want to come to us straight for that, we'll be able to provide that. Or if you want to have them go through you and you come to us, either way works. However, the white label gives you the ability to brand Crypto Prevent under your own company and show that it's supported by you. It also gives you a number of more customizations. You're able to fully customize how the notification tray works and shows, and add some additional things on top of that even. You're able to add your supported by and a logo into it when you're applying settings and removing settings, various things like that. And basically it just gives you a lot more customization options. Plus, with that one, we won't actually support it. You will be the one supporting it, and they'll be coming to you, which normally you can end up finding other ways to support your clients past that when they contact. I mean, having a reason for them to contact you is always a good thing. And then you'll be able to support that, and then we'll work directly with you if you have any issues there. Plus, if you have any things that would like to be added and integrated, white label will get priority of adding those features and abilities over the other versions will. So yeah, I hope that answered that question. And we're currently working on some manuals. Michael is working on the one for the main Crypto Prevent, and then white label and bulk as well. So we'll probably have some more details on that when those come out. And it'll also show you some of the actual differences between the two. So not a problem. All right, Michael. So I'd seen that thing about the FBI making Freedom of Information Acts harder to deal with going through.
Yeah, it's hard to believe the turnaround, on that, and I'm not really sure why. And I'm not really clear if this is related to the fact that all the departments have had to basically go with zero budgeting, and not spend any money. So this may be just a side effect of lack of funds at the FBI to deal with that. But unfortunately, there was a reason why they made it easier for those things to become available. The whole point of this program is to disclose information to the public when requested in a timely manner. And the timely manner part, I guess, is what is why this is so frustrating. So you'll have to either rely upon a fax machine, which I don't know. Fax machines are going the way of the dodo from what I have been noticing. I rarely see them, anymore, and I know they're still around. But the FBI, you'll have to, go to someplace that has a fax machine to do that, or rely upon a fax service, an electronic fax service, or regular postal mail. Being that the post office might go away at some point, I'm not so sure how reliable that's going to be. Certainly, it's not going to do anything to speed up the process, though.
Well, we went to a Mexican restaurant recently, and at the top of their menu, they had their phone number, which had their full phone number.
Okay.
And then Johnny pointed out it just said fax and then an area code. Same area code as the regular phone number, but nothing after that. So, I was like, I assume you just fax their regular number if you need to fax, although I'm not sure why you're faxing a Mexican restaurant when you're looking at their menu. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting that, yeah, it does seem like faxes are going out the door. Thankfully, they've been around too long.
Well, the facts. I'm glad you mentioned that, but there's a couple of more things that that this article also points out. The Daily Dot article here that's very frustrating. So the FOIA basically says that you have the FBI has 20 days to respond to requests. They can also unilaterally extend that, apparently 10 days whenever they deem necessary. But basically you've got a month basically to hear back from them, and that is, from what I understand, out of the many tens of thousands of requests that come in. I can't find the number here right now, but that never happens. So there's just effectively in breach of that to some extent, and there's no penalties for them to do that. So they've never been probably particularly great at this. And now the fact that they're making it more difficult and longer communication times because of that, well, at least in the case of postal mail, is not going to improve that situation, to the point where it may be so difficult to obtain the information through the request that might not, it could be effectively dismantling it altogether. Of course, you could argue that the fact that it doesn't have any penalties means that it was ineffectual to begin with, but the whole FOIA thing. But listen, this is just government transparency, and I don't think that it should be withheld in any way. If we just want to keep secrets, if we just want to have a government news channel that tells us what the news is and tells us what they expect us to want to know, that's fun. But that sounds very much like a very different country than what I had known in the past. But anyway, the other one I think was more serious and more directly related to the other article I posted, was more directly related to daily technology business. You may employ or sell devices based upon the Atom C2000 chip. A lot of NAS devices, a lot of devices sold by large networking manufacturers and storage manufacturers. There's not supposed to be a J at the end of Netgate there, by the way, in that sentence. At any rate, the chips have a fundamental flaw that causes them to prematurely fail after 18 months of usage.
Like
and
built-in? Yeah,
in other words, there's these two clock signals that stop working, and that completely bricks them. That there's no way to recover at all from this. The only resolution is a board. You can alter the board to work around the problem, or Intel is also going to have a new revision of the chip that they that future shipments will basically prevent this from happening. But if you've already purchased a device or have a device or going to do a purchase like that in the near term, you need to be very wary of this, because I'm pretty sure, well, 18 months is a little bit short of what I would expect for life expectancy for some of these devices, particularly the more expensive ones from Cisco and those higher end networking storage devices. I don't know what the remediation is. It looks like Synology is posting updates about it, and as I hear back from Intel, but Intel's being very tight-lipped. They're not even saying specifically which chips are affected, leading many people to believe that it's the entire line of chips. They do have some errata information, and they're starting to document it, so it is noted now in their documentation for it. But they have yet to say how many devices this actually impacts and how many shipments that it would have impacted. And the money they're setting aside, though, is huge, from what I understand. So it's significant.
Okay. Farley has a more relevant question. Has anyone reported a bug with the latest version, which is 0.6, not showing protection enabled, but the test protection detects that is enabled? Was that, and you have two questions there, so I'm going to address the first one first. But for the test protection detecting that it's enabled, was that after reboot? And did it actually show that any of the protections were applied in the bottom left there or in the blacklist policy. Because the test protection is fairly limited. It only tests if the app data has a software restriction policy on it, and it's fairly specific that if it gets a message from Windows saying that, it will say it. But we haven't had any specific reports that I know about that one. I mean, we've had various ones with test protection because of how group policy works. Like, you have to restart to be able to fully test out if that's right or not. And then he also says that uninstalling and reinstalling, and it detects that it's the it doesn't detect that it's premium. Is that with a bulk pack that you're on? We have had some cases with the bulk packs where it's not detecting that it's premium, and we're looking into an issue with that right now.
It's white label, but it's in that sense they work similarly in that regard.
Yeah, they are the same. No, we haven't seen that. What OS were you seeing that test protection thing on?
I'm assuming his software restriction policy showed the right number.
Windows 10. No, we haven't seen that one yet. We have found an issue that's affecting some people with the interface, and I'm basically going to have to rewrite how the entire underlying interface stuff works. So maybe that will address what you're seeing there. But thanks for reporting it.
Will apply INI work for the white label, Brantley?
That's what it was originally designed for, yes.
Okay. So Farley,
there was a grip to prevent white label before, right?
So if you could close out of the interface and run this command.
Why would he? What are you trying to accomplish there?
I'm trying to see if it'll reapply his settings correctly, because
But he's saying he wants it to have no protections enabled and test protection show that it's enabled. Like, he's saying that he said not showing protection enabled, but test protection detects that it is enabled. So he's saying that it looks like that nothing is applied, but then it actually is applied.
Yeah.
That's completely new. Okay, I haven't seen that before.
That should be a reboot thing.
I misunderstood.
We were just talking about.
And he said it was after a reboot.
That is definitely something to look into, and obviously with the other thing that happened right after that too.
And he's saying that the protection should be enabled, but the interface looks like it's disabled. And that's what I was going for. Even where it says software restriction policies applied and gives you a number, does that say 0? Or in the blacklist of SRP, does that not have anything listed in there? Or is it just the apply protection none plan and things like that? And basically, to give you a little bit more information on the other side of that, because we have been making some changes to the interface to try to get it to show things appropriately in all the various different situations that it has to deal with. There's a lot of underlying code that works recursively to basically it all works recursively to try to set the plans appropriately based on what check marks you put in and stuff. But in certain situations, that's causing stack overflows or .NET errors. So I'm going to have to rewrite how all that's done to try to get that figured out and worked. So we'll look more into that side, and maybe that will fix the issue you're seeing there. But for the Get Premium tab, if you look in the Documents folder, I believe it's going to be the Public Documents folder, there should be a Crypto Prevent client key text file. If you try taking the line that's in that text file and putting it into the Get Premium tab, does that register it? It should. But I'm not sure why on reinstall it wouldn't have picked it up right. But there are some other small situations where bulk is showing up as not premium, and I guess it could be applying to the white label as well. We just haven't had any reports other than yours for that yet. And I'm looking into some issues with that, especially on the reinstall and picking up things. It should be in the public documents and should be crypto prevent client key.txt. That's public/all users. Let me double check and make sure that's the exact right phrasing of that. Here. It's a little bit more lengthy than that. Should actually be this name exactly. That one. Hey Phoenix, how's it going? Yeah, there should be a text file in your documents folder. It'd be in the public documents on Windows 10. That one's saying product key is not valid. Can you send that text in to us in a text or in a support email? I'll look more into that specific case and see if we can narrow down what's going on there. Oh, fun! It's snowing up there. We were just talking about how it wasn't winter anymore down here. And otherwise, Farley too. I believe you were the one that showed or reported the bug about the /?. I've already got that fixed in the latest build, and wanted a logging or reporting thing for the test/silent, and I got some options in for that. Plus, I'm actually redoing majority of the command line interfaces and adding some options and abilities, and basically redoing that /? one. All right. Well, just send us in the one there, Farley, and I'll look into that, and then I'll look into the rest of the keys under your system on that one. But I am close to getting a release out that fixes the command line interface stuff and adds some new abilities and features there. And then I'll look into that registration issue and see if we can narrow that down some more. Michael, if I could slap you through the camera, I would. Second time today, I have to tell you not to post things until you're able to talk about it. Why do you just randomly post things? And then you try to talk to us when you're muted and off camera in your rearview mirror. I wish you were closer than you appear right now. But anyway, go ahead and get us that email, Farley, and we'll check more into that, and I'll see if I can integrate some of that premium stuff into the stuff, and we'll figure out what's going on there, and hopefully I can get some of that registration stuff in with this release as well. But I do want to get that command line stuff finished and out of the way and released, so I'll try to add in some of that registration stuff, and we'll go from there. But if you send in that email, I'll check more into that specific case and the other ones on your that have been registered with us, and we'll see what's going on. So cool. Well, glad newbies, they've already left, and Farley were here asking great questions about our products and services, because that is exactly what we're here for. And
Yeah.
Farley, with all the ones you've brought up, we're going to have to cut the show now and get to work on those. So
No doubt. No doubt. It's
yeah.
also what we're here for.
Yeah, exactly what we're
It's
here
helping,
for.
helping us, help you, help us, help you, help. But
Yeah.
helping each other.
Stop
So-
with the recursiveness. I hate recursion now.
You programmer you.
So anyway, we are going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. We've gone over our hour limit, and we will be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. for our Wednesday show. So if you have any questions about our products or services in the meantime, you can always feel free to contact our support via the various means on our website. Otherwise, if you want to wait and talk to us directly, you can do so tomorrow at 2 p.m. and we'll be more than happy to interact with you directly then. So thanks again, Newbie and Farley, for all your great questions, and Farley for pointing out those issues so that we can look more into them. And we will see you all tomorrow.